Tabletop time. The first step in building this tabletop is to de-nail all the boards. These things were loaded with nails, staples, knob and tube components, all kinds of things that will do very bad things to saw blades. So the nails and staples, they had to go. The next step was to cut the ends off some of these boards. When I got these things, they were like 10 or 11 feet long. I really only needed them to be 8 feet long, and my shop is not that big, so rather than try to wrestle a 10 or 11 foot board into the shop, it was just easier to cut off some of the excess outside and make my life kind of easy. Here you see the boards twisted, cupped, bowed, pretty much imperfect every way possible. There's even some where like one side was way thinner than the other. So I definitely had my work cut out for me. While I had the boards outside, I went ahead and hit them with the planer, or the plane, excuse me. I wish it was the planer, but no, just the plane, to try and straighten up some of the edges so that I wouldn't have to do that much work down in the shop. Here you see the boards all laid out. Some of them fit together halfway decent. Some of them still needed a lot more work. Those first two boards there on the left side of the screen, those fit pretty good even after just a preliminary cut and planing. So I went ahead and glued those together. And then I went ahead and sharpened the plane. And as you'll see in a minute, then I forgot how to put it back together. This is what I had to do to all these boards. There was no running them through the table saw or anything like that. I had to plane them all down by hand. I used that blue tape as a way to kind of indicate where I need to use the plane. Every now and then I use the tape to write myself notes. Not the kind of notes that your mom put in your lunch in second grade, but notes like I need to plane the top of the board or the bottom of the board, plane a lot, plane lightly, whatever. Went ahead and got those two boards glued together, did some more plane work on the middle board, and then I was able to glue the whole thing. Now here I needed 5 clamps for this, and I only had 4 that were long enough, so I had to do some sketchy stuff right here to kind of create a clamp. But it worked. It's ugly. Doesn't look all that professional, but it did the job. There I'm just cleaning the glue squeeze out, although I probably didn't need to. This whole thing got planed so much that I'd have been okay leaving it. What you see here is a split in one of the boards. One of the boards had a split like this pretty much the whole way down, and I wasn't real comfortable just leaving that split the way it was, so I went ahead and created a series of Dutchmen, or more commonly referred to as bow ties, which can be used to patch wood or fill in or cover up defects like knots, or to repair splits. Now, traditionalists will tell you that I cheated by using a router and a template, but I don't care because I used the chisel so much in the earlier stages of the project that I was pretty cool with using electricity to be my friend and help me out a little bit. Here you see the actual patches themselves. I'll go ahead and cut that board up a little bit, send it through the table saw, kind of separate those patches themselves from the block of wood they came from, and then it's time for a little glue party. So 5 of those. 5 of those about every 1.5 feet on that one board, and that should hold that split together. Then I just gave the table kind of a very preliminary planing, just trying to knock down the obvious high spots, clean up some of the glue. Because what I'm going to do is is turn this thing over and do some work on the bottom side of the tabletop. The only reason I sanded it right here is because I was wanting to take a picture of it, and I figured it'd look a little better with the sanding than if it hadn't been sanded and cleaned off a little bit. So there she is. That's what she looked like. Looks a lot different than when I brought all those boards into the shop individually, but she's also a long way from being done. A painfully long way from being done. So on the underside, I don't have any video of this, but I went ahead and I cut out 2 pockets where the tabletop will sit on the trestle frames. The bottom of the table, it was not flat, and the boards were so imperfect that to try and flatten everything, I would have been left with a really thin tabletop. So rather than flatten the whole table, I just flattened 2 strategic spots where it would rest flush on those trestle frames. This also gave me a chance to make sure everything was sitting good and level and square and parallel and everything else. There you can see those pockets that I cut. Here I'm getting ready to start working on the breadboard ends. So I give myself a nice clean straight cut on the end there. Try and clean up the edge a little bit. And then what I'm gonna do here, which you'll see in a second, is I'm going to use my router and I'm going to start removing material so that I leave myself with a tenon on each end of the table, and the breadboard end will fit around that tenon. So there I am marking my line. I use that knife because the knife's a whole lot more precise than using some big fat wonky pencil to make a really clear line. So then I'm just using that router, letting it ride along the rails of my level there with a pattern bit or a flush cut bit to follow that straight edge and remove material so that I'll ultimately be left with a tenon. I'll do this on both sides of the table, on the bottom and top side. So here I am working on the other side, kind of doing the same thing. It was a lot of work, and there's probably a more professional way of doing this, but this kind of works for me, not counting having to undo and redo clamps every 10 seconds. That sucks. I probably adjusted and moved those clamps 500 times, and that's only a mild exaggeration. But the end result was pretty good, got the job done. So here you get a better view, probably where I should have had the camera set up from the get-go, but hey, better late than never, right? So I think that was my last pass on that particular spot. Repeated that process on the top side of the table, gave myself 2 tenons, 1 on each end of the board. The breadboard ends are gonna fit around those real nice, and you can watch me build those and finish this table in the next video. So check back in a couple days. I should have it up by then. Thanks for watching. See ya.